Hey, good morning. Anybody else out there yet? Hi. Well, we'll give people a few minutes to join. I hope everyone's enjoying CrabCon. Is this anyone's first CrabCon? Yay, 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 yay. So fun. It's my second, actually. Excuse me. My second CrabCon. My first CrabCon as a local rep for Lycos. Oh, Regina Lucky. Good morning. Oh, wow, Sharon. So quite newbie. I hope that you're not overwhelmed. There's so much to learn about hermit crab. Hi, Trisha. Just waiting for folks to come in. Oh, Sharon, I just want to mention that you are in the right place. This is, in my opinion, and I'm a little biased, the best hermit crab group out there. We have a warm, thriving community of people that support each other and truly want the best for each other and our crabbies. So it's wonderful. Oh, thanks, Cody. Oh, Diane, are you okay? Sharon, that's my story as well. I think it was 2020 in the fall. We got some hermit crabs at the beach, and I fell down the rabbit hole while at the beach. And I was on Amazon ordering stuff to be here for me when we got home, and I just haven't looked back. So I've just fallen in love with these little things. Yes, and on YouTube, on CrabCon's channel, you can look at I believe the last 2 years are up now. So you can go back and look through those videos. And this year won't be available till next summer. Well, I would like to start out by telling you guys about me. I'm Amanda Monroe Mitchell. I'm a mom to 3 boys and a schnoodle and a beta and let's see, 3 crabs that were bought before I knew better. And then I rescued one, and they're in my 75-gallon. And then I have a 29-gallon with my 6 captive bred babies from Mary Acres. I'm so honored to have those babies, and it's just wonderful to sit and watch them. I love them so much. So that's about me. I have started going to reptile shows to advocate for little crabs, and I've done well with those. I love it. I love getting out there with the public and talking to people and watching their face light up as they learn about the hermit crabs. And I always come away from those feeling like I've done something good, as little as it is. I mean, it's what I can do and what I can give right now. So if any of you are interested in becoming a local rep, that would be awesome. There's a lot of information about that in the group. Okay, so I thought we would get started just kind of going through what I do at the shows. I have a document that we have. It's called Buy This, Not That. It's a little shiny, but there we go. So I think by now, hopefully most of us know that these kind of keepers, which is what they give you at the beach, are not the proper setup for our little crabs. We need a glass tank is preferable. And also the lid is very important. We don't want the screen mesh. We want a sealed lid. The mesh screens are useful though, because you can cover them with seal wrap, and there's other ways of covering them. So don't throw them out if that's what you have, because you know it does get expensive upgrading things for our babies, especially after we have already bought what we think we need for them, and then we realize, oh my goodness, I need to spend $300 more. So does anyone have questions about tanks or lids? Okay, we're going to move on then. We can always come back around, so don't despair. So the next, I lay all these out at my talks for folks so they can go by the table and look at their leisure and not feel stressed out or pressured. You know, I don't try to badger people. I just wait and see if they have questions. So the pet stores will sell what they call calci sand, or sand special for hermit crabs, and that's a big no-no. We need play sand, which is sold at Home Depot and places like that. And you want to be sure to get play sand for sandboxes, because that is what the little critters need. But we do a 5-to-1 ratio of sand to eco earth to make the substrate more suitable and to hold moisture for the crabs. I wanted to show you this. You know, this is what they want to sell, the calci sand, and then all these lovely painted shells, which these aren't the ones the crabs would wear, but I think it's for decor. Regardless, you wouldn't want to put this in your tank because it's painted, and this kind of thing is not healthy for the crabs. Oh yes, play sand is at this point it's somewhere around $4, but I live in Raleigh, North Carolina, so but yes, it's much cheaper. So let's go back to the shells. This is what they want to sell you because it grabs kids' attention, and that's what they market the hermit crabs for. So kids see these bright, beautiful shells, and they want to buy the crabs. So I have a cute little dish of painted shells that I leave at the table at the expos. And of course, this always draws the kitties over. And yes, these are beautiful, but obviously they're toxic. They're toxic to our babies because the crabs will modify their shells. So they'll eat and chew and pick away because they need to make room for their eye stalks. And they end up ingesting the paint, which is toxic to them. So yes, while these are cute and pretty, big no-no. No, they are not. They are not a kid's pet. It's so sad because, like I just said, I mean, they market them to kids, but they're completely the opposite of what a kid would need. I mean, they're nocturnal and they hide. They just want to be left alone to live their little lives. And unfortunately, they're just part of a horrible system that Lycos is working to change. So, good shells, turbos. I know that's a turbo, but I really am not well versed in the names of shells. But have a few of these. And they're beautiful. They're beautiful in and of themselves. So it's really sad that they get ruined by being painted. I think most of us crab owners are guilty of buying these. We may have way many more shells than we need. But this happens to be my favorite. I love these. They're just so beautiful. And then, of course, these. These are all appropriate for the crabs. Now, purple pinchers, which is what we find mostly here in the States, like the turbo shells, they prefer them. And of course, there's always one that's going to be different, but it's most of their preference is the round opening on the shell, as opposed to a D opening, which looks like a D. The Ecuadorian crabs, which you do find once in a while here, they prefer these, from what I understand. I don't have any E's. All mine are purple pinchers. So I've been buying mostly for that. Yes, Josh's Frogs does have substrate that we approve of. Yes, Sharon. I mean, none of us had any idea about any of this, so don't feel bad at all. But we can't force the crabs out of their shells. It's very important once you bring them home and get them acclimated. If you don't know about the post-purchase death syndrome, we have it's a staged acclimation back to their normal habitat. You want to provide them with natural shells, and don't ever try to force a crab out of its shell, because it would rather be pulled apart than come out of its shell. So they have to, as long as it can take months for them to drop those horrible painted shells. But some of them, mine changed right away. But I have stories I've heard that that is not the case, and they just take their time and do what they want to do. So just provide them with what they need, and they'll take care of themselves. Kathy, watch 4 hermit crabs change immediately from the painted to the real. Yes, and it's so wonderful. At the beach, when my jumbo, when I say jumbo, he's not like the huge jumbo like Jonathan Livingston crab, but he's my jumbo. So I had, without even knowing, I had bought a beautiful natural shell, or I guess you get a free shell with the purchase. I can't remember, but he did change right away. And it was gratifying to watch him do that. Yes, I have wise cams too in my tanks. Most of us do. It's hard not to just obsess and watch them all the time, but we do just need to let them live their lives. So moving on. Of course, they love to hide, as we've established. And so things like this with paint on them or clear coat varnish, you don't want to offer for the same reasons as the shell. The best thing to do is just a natural coconut. You can buy them already cut, and some of them have ladders on them or you can do it yourself if you're a do-it-yourselfer. I'm a crafter, so I like doing these kind of things. But my crabs love the coconuts, and then I freeze what's the meat of the coconut and then provide it to them, which they love to hide. They love to take it and hide it and eat it later. Other things that can be used for hides are like terracotta pots that you would plant flowers in outside. Some people have these little plastic globes that they've decorated with rocks and shells on the outside, or you can put vines on them. And regardless of what your hide is, you could provide moss in there, because we want them to have a moss pit, because it helps. They like it, for one thing. They love to hide in the moss and eat it and drag it all over the place and kick it into their water. But it's a good place to put the moss once you provide it. Now, moving on to thermostats, or thermometers. Between the two here, you always prefer the digital over these, because these are highly irregular in their readings and most of the time incorrect. So a digital thermometer is the way to go. You can get them for $12 on Amazon. This is an example that I bring to the shows. Also very inconsistent for our crabbies. Yes, Kathy, we become stalkers. Exactly right. They don't come, we can't really bring them out of their environment, other than for a wellness check every now and then, because they breathe through modified gills. So when they're born in the ocean, they breathe through their gills, and then once they transition to land, they breathe also through these modified gills. So it's very important that they have humidity in their environment, because they need that water to breathe. Otherwise, they could suffocate to death slowly, which is depressing. Oh, yes, Savannah, that's great. Cottage cheese or whipped cream containers if you're low on funds. Now, what I did with some of my things, I got, excuse me, craft rocks, little rocks or pebbles, and you can use super glue to glue them onto it for little climb hookies for their feet, and just to spruce it up a bit. You could also use the aquarium sealant also, but it has to be non-molding. Old plastic Chinese food containers. For moss pet, that's great. Now, crabs need salt water and fresh water. This is not appropriate because the crabs need to be able to fully submerge, because some of them like to swim. Mine have not gone swimming yet, but I see posts all the time in our group that the crabs swim. So you want them to be able to fully submerge and make sure that there are ladders so they can get out of the pond. Now, some people use aquarium plants, put them down in there so they can use them like little trees to come up out. You can buy ladders in some of our wonderful vendor shops. There's one shop that has little set of ladders that says salt and fresh so that you don't mix them up. Yes, Sharon, yes. You have to use prime water for everything. So prime is wonderful, and it smells. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It smells terrible, but it's one of the best things we can get for the crabs. Now you want instant ocean to make your salt water for the crabs. We can't use table salt, or I wouldn't use the salt that they want to provide at the stores either. Instant ocean is it pretty much mimics the ocean, and you get a huge container of it, and I still have mine after 2 years almost. So, yeah, yeah, Prime is terrible. It is like sulfur. Okay, heat. So hermit crabs are tropical creatures, which is, humidity and heat. So these lamps and lights are not recommended in our group because they can zap the humidity out of the tank. The better choice are these heat mats for reptiles, and they need to be put along the back of your tank, and it needs to cover 3/4, if not the whole back of the tank. And some of them come with the stickies already on them. But I've duct taped mine. I've used like Gorilla Tape, things like that, and that works very well. And to help maintain the temperature and humidity in your tank, you can use, let me get it. Like the car, what you would put in the cars to reflect the light and the heat out, you would want to do it opposite, and that keeps the heat and humidity in to the tank. And you can also tape over top of that, over top of the heater. So there's no danger there. Yes. Yeah, it's who makes it? Seagram, I think. Seagram Prime. I can look that up and let you know, Sharon. Okay. Oh, here we go. Here it is, Sharon. Prime. It's by Seacham. Yes, the ammonia is the main reason we want to use this, and it does not take much at all to purify the amount of water that we need for our crabs. And something somebody told me, and it was the best thing ever, is once you buy your bottle and open it up, don't tear the sealer off. Just take a toothpick and make one little hole in the middle, and then you can do drops at a time, and you're not, having to deal with that wretched smell as much either. So now, hermit crab food. The hermit crab food sold in the stores is toxic, which I know is very shocking. Just kidding. They contain additives which are very bad for the crabs. I have an example here. Also, this, no. It's a mineral block for them, but it's just not good for the crabs. To feed your crabs, we have our vendors have shops where they have created wonderful feasts of dried food that last a long time, and it's very economical. You can also feed them from your table, essentially, but the fresh food will have to be taken out every day, like the next morning. Because, well, fresh food will mold, whereas the dried food lasts longer. It all depends on your humidity levels and things, but I usually leave my dried food in there like 3 days or so. So to hold moisture, we talked about having little moss pits. The sponges are no in the water. You do not want to put a sponge in the water because it will eventually mold. But if it's a natural sponge, I wouldn't buy this one, but you can get like a natural dried sponge. Some of our vendors have those too. They eat them, so they enjoy them for treats. So if you put them in there on the other side of the tank away from your water, it should be fine. Here's the instant ocean. Yeah, as opposed to the aquarium salt or the bottled water. You don't want to get that. Now, if you're interested, the ingredients that make the food that they sell for the crabs unsafe are copper sulfate, which are toxic to invertebrates, and ethoxyquin, which also is not good for them. And so, let's see. That's all I have to show you guys, but we can certainly keep talking. And if you have any questions, let me catch up here. Yes, the bean farm are very, the heating pads from Bean Farm are very popular in the group. Does anyone know about the cycle of hermit crabs, of what they go through? Is anyone interested? Sorry, I have such a glare there. There we go. Okay, so essentially, little crabs are at the beach living their lives, and a harvester comes along and takes them. Because every crab that you find in a pet shop, except for Josh's frogs, have been stolen from the wild. So they're collected and then they're shipped in huge quantities, crammed together without food or water. Some cases. So what happens to them next is they go to the factories and they're forced out of their natural shells. It's a little brutal. They put them in a vise, which you can see here, and they crack open their shells. And then they put them naked into a bin that has painted shells. And it's horrible. I can't hardly talk about it without crying, but sometimes the paint's still wet, so crabs get stuck inside those painted shells. So then they're shipped off to pet stores. Then they're sold with those little beautiful crabby hotels and all the wrong things. And then mostly they die. I mean, some people don't even get them home before they're dead because they've been through so much. What if my sub is too dry or too... So, Savannah, are you asking a question? If your sub is too dry after the crabs are in there? Yes, prime for fresh water and salt water. So you would prime your water for both things because the prime takes all the ammonia and everything out of the waters. And then you'll keep, I just keep like, I actually buy spring water for the crabs and it doesn't, it's not hard to keep up because it's already a gallon. It's perfect measured size. And so I just put my prime inside of it. And then I have one that I've labeled salt water, and I'll go ahead and just mix that up and I'm good to go. Oh, you're right. Okay. So if your sub is too dry and you don't have any crabs molting, then you can take your primed water, just I think add like maybe a cup at a time. So you could, you know, don't dump it all in one place, just very slowly, calmly put it just around your tank. And then I believe if it hasn't helped it, then maybe the next day do the same thing. Now, if your crab, now sometimes your tank could flood if there's a lot of conditions that can cause that. So if the sand's too wet and you don't have any crabs molting, you need to take them out and redo your sub. Do you agree with Savannah, or do you have anything else to add to that? So Crab Street Journal is an amazing resource. You can go there and pretty much find the answer to anything about our crabs. They have just a library of articles to read. And it's run by our group. Stacy runs it. All right. Right. So I've done that. I've actually spilled water when I'm trying to clean the pools. And that's a great idea. If your crabs are up, mix some more dry sub in. Otherwise, you can take out extra wet just right in that area. But true, you always have to know the root of the issue, or fixing it's not going to help at all. Oh, also, Stacy's book, The Complete Guide to Land Hermit Crab and Their Care. And it's pretty much the Bible of hermit crab keeping. It's based on scientific research and just experience that we've all learned in the group. Stacy has compiled it into an amazing book, and it's beautiful. I mean, it's colored, it's got pictures, all kind of crabs. Pretty much everything you'd want to know is in here. You can get it on Amazon. It's very helpful. So highly recommend this book. The Complete Guide to Land Hermit Crabs and Their Care. I'll type it here in the comments. I can find the link. Stacy has that available in her booth. Which is in the expo. And then here is a guide or a link to Amazon. I can't say enough good things about the book. It's a labor of love, for sure. That's right, Jean. You can use a CrabCon discount on the Crab Street Journal Market. So Sharon. So the answer to that is, do you have to clean the tank? Some people do like to scoop the top layer off, but essentially, if it's set up right, you don't ever have to clean it. It's a self-sustaining environment, especially if you have isopods, and there's a couple other things that people can use to put in there, and they'll eat up the refuse and the poop and all those wonderful things. So, oh, you're welcome, Jean. Thank you. So no, the answer is no. You don't have to clean it if it's set up right. Springtails, that's what it is. That's right. Springtails and isopods. Now, isopods are also known as roly-polies, which is what most of us as kids spent looking in our yard, little bugs that roll up. But there are some that actually are not good for your crabs, so you would need to look and see what kind are recommended, because you want some that are not driven by protein, because they could be dangerous to a molding crab. Yes, they can produce very quickly. Apparently there is one someone was talking about, I forget, one of the CrabCon talks. They don't breed as rapidly, but I can't remember. Yeah, no dairy cows for sure. I do not have any live things in my tank besides my crabs at this point. I'm thinking I may get some isopods or springtails. Does anybody want to see my baby tank? I have it here in my office, which please disregard my office mess. I share it with my hubby. There's some pools that I have the little bubblers built in already. You can get those in the expo too. I'm trying to see if I can see any little guys out or not. Oh, I see one. I don't know if you can. Let's see. He is up in the corner there. Yes, that little wheel. It's much smaller than the hamster wheels you would get in the stores. It's 3D printed by one of our vendors. And also the pools, it's a set of pools that are 3D printed as well. And one of them has a seashell on it, which marks it as saltwater. Do babies need anything specific? Thank you, Kathy. And as far as anything extra, I can't think of anything that they would need that's extra. Just the same conditions that, yeah, the same conditions that are good for any of the crabs will be good for the babies. Yes, there is a group just for owners of Mary's baby crabs, and it's been good to join and see all the wonderful things there. But you're only accepted in if you've bought baby crabs. Oh, excuse me. Yes, they do need moisture in their substrate, which, I mean, all the crabs do. The sand needs to be almost at sandcastle consistency, because the crabs get down in there and they tunnel when they molt, and it needs to be able to hold the shape. Now, it is true, thank you for reminding me, that the baby crabs seem to like their sand a little bit wetter, but too much water can be extremely dangerous in the tank. So mine really isn't much more wet than my other tank. And the crabs have been doing fine. I can see the little tunnels going down in there, and I know I've had some molting already. So how many hermit crabs do you guys have? $30. Carol. Goals. Although while at the expo, I have fallen in love with, oh my goodness, I never thought I would, but I fell in love with snakes. So I keep joking to my husband that I'm going to come home with a snake. And he's just looks at me. Yes, Carol is amazing. Oh, her tanks are beautiful. She loves her crabs. Yes, Sharon, I believe there are. I think the bean farm might be programmable. I'm not 100% sure. I don't have any of that brand. But there are things available to help with that. Now, the purple pinchers, we recommend 80 and 80. So 80 degrees and 80% humidity. Anywhere around that's okay. Your numbers are perfectly good, Sharon. I think the humidity might be a tad up for them, but it's not dangerous. Now, for exotics like Ease, you would need around 85 because they like it a little warmer, from what I understand, but I don't have any, so I can't speak from experience on that. 7, 3 babies. Yes. Does anyone have any questions? Make sure I didn't miss any questions here. Me? I have, let's see. So I have a 75 gallon with a 20 gallon topper on it. And in that one, I have the 3 that were store-bought and then 1 that I rescued. And then I have 6 babies. And the only type I have are purple pinchers at this point. I have dreams of owning strawberries and blueberries someday, but I'm not going to buy them unethically. So if our ladies or men breeders can figure out how to breed these, then I will acquire some. Mm-hmm. Well, the purple pinchers are beautiful. The range of color in purple pinchers, some of them can look red, some of them look real dark purple, somewhere in the middle. Like, they're just beautiful as well. So plenty to love there. How long do they molt? That will depend on your crab size. The little babies do not take long at all. And then as they get older, like the one I call a jumbo, his name's Hermit. He takes about 3 or 4 weeks now when he goes down. And then some of them take 10 days. It really does. I know I've heard of people saying 8 months for some of theirs. I mean, once they get really big, it takes them a while. And it's a very stressful thing for them to do. It's very hard on their bodies. So a lot of us lose crabs during their molt. And it's nothing that we've done wrong. It's just, I don't know if you all know Jonathan Livingston Crab, but that's when he passed. He's the oldest known hermit crab in captivity. And Carol Orms is his owner. She lived in Florida. And he actually sadly passed away last year on Valentine's Day, which was a devastating blow because he is our mascot, essentially. And he was 44, I think, when he passed away. So they really are lifelong pets, generational pets. Stevie, don't feel bad. It's nothing that you've done. I mean, it's really wreaks havoc on their bodies. So essentially what happens when they're molting is they have to take in water in their shell. And I believe they use that once they go down to, they absorb it and crack off their exoskeleton. And then they are very vulnerable for a few days because they can't move. And then once they are able to, they start eating their shed exoskeleton. It's very good for them because I believe the calcium and other things that they reabsorb. And then they spend the rest of the time not regrowing, but their new exoskeleton starts hardening. I'm sorry, Steve. I know it's one of the hardest times for us because we want to go digging for them. Please never dig for your crabs because you could collapse the tunnels that they make in their molt caves and it could kill them. Oh. Let's see. Do we get prime for freshwater? Prime for freshwater conditioner. And then salt water is prime plus instant ocean. Yes, absolutely. Jaden. Oh dear. I saw another question up here, I think. How do you know if they died molting? April, you don't. They just never come back, and they just get absorbed and eventually into the substrate, which is really sad to think about. But unless you're tearing down the tank for some reason, you most likely just would never see them again. I'm trying to think if there's anything I haven't covered. The food. Okay, so like we know, we don't buy store-bought food that are marketed to hermit crabs because it contains toxic chemicals. You can buy from our vendors. Most of them have Etsy shops or accounts that you can message them. They dehydrate food that we know is safe. We have a safe foods list. And one of the shops has a wonderful book, Fresh and Foraged Foods, and it will, if you want to forage for your own food, it will guide you in that. But you can also feed them from your table. But doing that, you would need to take the fresh food out every morning. You don't want to leave that in the tank because it will mold. Like for instance, like rotisserie chicken, anything you're preparing, like vegetables, you can shred it up They love strawberries. They love blueberries. They love carrots. I mean, some of them are picky, just like kids, but um, you can feed them. Some people go to the deli and get shrimp for them, but you want to give them things without a ton of our spice and sauce on it. Yes, Hungry Hermit has great food. Bioactive effects also, um, because of crabs. What is my other favorite one? Can't think of it right now. Yes. Oh my goodness, Mary does make great food. Mary is just an amazing person, amazing human. She's given so much to these little crabs. I have not attempted to make my own food yet because one, I don't really have I do not have a huge kitchen nor storage area. But I would love to someday get a dehydrator and dehydrate my own food. Anything else that you would like to have covered? Oh, Sharon. Depends on the size of the crab. So little baby hermit crabs they don't take long at all. Now my crab, I call him my jumbo crab, but he takes about a month now. And then there's, everywhere in between that. And then some people have reported 8 months even. So just the one thing is do not dig. No diggies. No, never dig. Because it will collapse the tunnels that they've made in their molt caves. And that's the reason we ask everyone, please do not dig. It could be really sad. Do they eat when they're under the substrate? The only thing they eat when they're molting, as far as I know, is their exoskeleton that they've shed. So where's everybody from? I live in Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm from West Virginia. I've called North Carolina my home for almost 20 years now. Florida. Maryland, Virginia, Maryland. Pennsylvania. It's our community is, it's so diverse, and we have people from all over the world in our group, and we're just so fortunate to have people that are working and doing what they can to help these little critters. Yep, Kathy, that's good. That's a good trio to keep in there is the green sand, worm castings, and a calcium of some sort. I use oyster shells that are crushed up. That's always a good thing to keep in the tank at all times. I keep mine filled up. I check on it every night, make sure that they have that in there. Let's see if one thing is very important is no metal in the tank. You don't want metal that could end up rusting, and it could hurt the crabs. I don't think I talked about that before. Crab Central Station is a great YouTube channel to go to get any information you would need. The girls there are amazing. Darcy has learned how to breed crabs, which is so exciting. April, you have tube and you won't know. I mean, we just encourage people never to dig. It's hard to wait. I'm not sure how big your crabs are, or how long you've had them. How long have you had your crabs? Three years. Okay. So I'd just let them do their thing. I wouldn't worry yet. Sounds like they could be a decent size. So it can take a while as they get older. Felt like a nervous Biddy with her little babies running, because the first time that happened to me when my crabs disappeared and molded, first time Hermit went down was really hard for me because I just had this special bond with him, and he came up in about 3 weeks. So it's hard and nerve-wracking for most of us. Yes, they do that. I think I have a pair, like Hermie and another one of my crabs. She tails after him all the time. I don't know why. They're like little best buddies, and I'm pretty sure they go down the molt together because I never see her when he's gone. So it's cute. Oh, I missed the art this morning. I caught a little bit of it, but I was getting ready for this talk. But I want to go back and watch that. It looks amazing. Does anyone have a favorite so far? A favorite session that they've joined or a talk that they've seen on CrabCon? Hi, Stacy. I know it is. It's so hard to choose a favorite. The baby talks, they're fun. Wow, it's so fun to watch them grow. And some people keep the old shells as they grow to watch the progress of the crabs. Yes, the anatomy sessions. Oh, Under the Microscope's a perennial favorite. I watched it so many times last CrabCon. I could just watch it forever, I think. It's so zen-like. Aggression. Okay. You'll want to make sure you have enough shells in your tank for the crabs. Each crab needs 3 to 5 shells at least in its size, and then maybe a size up, which is measured in eighths. I think, yeah, eighths. It's very important because otherwise they could fight for the shells. You want to make sure that they have plenty of resources. Again, it all comes back to making sure the crabs have what they need to survive, and it's rare to have a problem when they've got their needs covered. The right shells, right. We did talk about like the D versus the turbos. Yeah, we showed some in the beginning, but I'm happy to do it again just because they're so pretty. So this is what most purple pinchers prefer, with the round opening. And then the D shape, it more for the E's like these, but some of the purple pinchers do too. But yeah. Oh no, you're fine, Stacy. It's okay. There's so much to view. It's so hard to pick where to go. But we have about 3 minutes left, so if there's any questions, I'm happy to take any more. The most common questions. Well, I know the strangest question I ever had was, can you eat hermit crabs? And I guess technically you can, but there are pets, so no. I went with no. Oh, Sharon, you're welcome. I mean, everyone in our community has been they're just so helpful, and they just want what's best. And I know that anyone in the groups would be happy to help you with things. Right. Well, yes. It stands to reason that if you eat blue crabs and other things, that some people, yes, that some people could consider the other crabs as food, but I don't want to think of my pets as someone's dinner. Actually, Stacy, the most common question I get is, where is Jonathan Livingston Crab? There's like, so I want to meet this Jonathan Livingston Crab. Like, well, sorry. Yes, in Krabby Heaven. Well, guys, please enjoy the rest of CrabCon. I'm so excited to get back there and get looking at things. I've enjoyed talking to all of you. Oh, Carol, thank you. Oh, Stacy, anytime. Happy CrabCon, guys. Bye-bye.